It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10, our top story. Israel targets the senior leadership of Hamas, striking a building in Qatar without notifying the United States.
On this day, as in previous days, Israel acted wholly independently, and we take full responsibility for this action.
5 members of the negotiating delegation were killed in the attack, which has been condemned as a violation of sovereignty. Also coming up, pressure on Donald Trump and the UK's ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, over their alleged birthday letters to paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Pride or prejudice inside the Flaggers movement, dividing opinions across the country. And Nepal's Gen Z protests against corruption and a social media ban. We report from Kathmandu. Plus, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages in our press preview from 10:30 right through to midnight. Well, hello, good evening. We begin with an audacious Israeli attack, which marks a dangerous escalation in the Middle East conflict. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed his military targeted the senior leadership of Hamas, striking a building in the Qatari capital Doha, where officials were meeting for ceasefire talks. Hamas says 5 of the negotiating delegation were killed. Sky News understands no leaders died in the attack. Well, the condemnation was swift. The White House, which knew nothing of the strikes before they happened, said they did not advance peace in the region, while the European Union and the United Nations said the attack was a breach of international law. Our Middle East correspondent, Adam Parsons, has this report.
The smoke you see here is from an explosion, and its shockwaves are now echoing around the Middle East. Israeli airstrikes on Doha targeted at Hamas leaders who'd gathered there to discuss a ceasefire in Gaza. Sky News understands Hamas's leadership committee survived this attack, but 5 members of the delegation were killed. Qatar says it had no prior warning of the attack. Israel's Prime Minister, proud and unapologetic about attacking a Gulf nation.
On this day, as in previous days, Israel acted wholly independently, and we take full responsibility for this action.
The Israelis claim they were spurred into action by this, the bus attack on Monday morning in which 2 Palestinian gunmen killed 6 Israelis. But the attack on Qatari soil had been planned for weeks, if not months. Hamas had claimed responsibility for the bus attack, but not long after, its leaders were being targeted by an airstrike. Qatar is a geopolitical powerhouse. Negotiations were held there within a month of the October 7th attacks. It said it strongly condemned what it called a cowardly and criminal attack.
I think that we have reached a decisive moment. There should be retaliation from the whole region in face of those barbaric actions.
Qatar is also home to the biggest American military base in the region. And this time, the Americans, normally such steadfast defenders of the Israeli government, appear to be keeping their distance.
The president views Qatar as a strong ally and friend of the United States and feels very badly about the location of this attack.
Much stronger condemnation has come from countries in the region and from beyond.
I condemn this flagrant violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Qatar. All parties must work towards achieving a permanent ceasefire, not destroying it.
In Gaza, the Israeli military has launched its assault on Gaza City. Tower blocks have been toppled, hundreds of civilians killed, and 1 million told to flee. Benjamin Netanyahu insists his aim is to destroy Hamas and to rescue the 48 hostages, living and dead. But some hostage families are now furious, insisting the attack on Qatar imperils both the ceasefire and their loved ones.
I am shaking with fear. I am shaking with fear. It could be at this very moment that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu basically assassinated my matan, sealed his fate. Why does the Prime Minister insist on blowing up every chance for a deal? Why?
Certainly the chances of a ceasefire now do seem slight. And there are those within the Israeli cabinet pushing Netanyahu to use military might to simply annex all of Gaza. This was already a taut country. Now, as air raid sirens ring out again, the tension and the anxiety are increasing. Adam Parsons, Sky News, Jerusalem.
Well, we'll hear from Adam in a moment and our US correspondent Mark Stone at the White House. First, though, to Sally Lockwood in Doha. And Sally, Qatar has played the role of mediator, now accusing Israel of a reckless criminal attack in blatant violation of international law.
That's right, Anna. It does feel like there's a sense of disbelief here in Qatar at what's happened today, and a sense that the diplomatic efforts that were being held here between Israel and Hamas really have been blown apart by this extraordinary act by Israel, an attempt to target Hamas leadership in a country with which they have relations, a neutral country, a country that is hosting these critical ceasefire talks between both sides. And certainly the response from Qatar has been very strong indeed, referring to this as a treacherous act and a criminal act. It's hard to see how this won't do damage to US-Israel Qatari relations. Qatar's foreign policy is focused on no conflict, de-escalation, and a lack of military intervention. Well, this really does blow all that apart today. And I think the comments that were most striking was that from Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary to Donald Trump, who said that Steve Witkoff, Donald Trump's envoy, got straight on the phone as soon as they'd been made aware of this by the US military to alert Qatar. Well, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, their spokesperson today said that the idea that they were given any forewarning is just absolute rubbish, that they were alerted by this US official, which we know to be Steve Witkoff, while explosions were happening and were taking place here in Doha. And I've heard from people here today who say they just cannot believe it, that it feels like such a violation of a country where that prides itself in its safety, that around 10 explosions were heard here in the middle of the afternoon in a residential area. And it really does feel like a line has been crossed, that any sort of diplomatic efforts and some sort of ceasefire breakthrough feels further away than ever. And of course, Israeli hostages and Palestinians in Gaza are left to suffer the consequences.
Well, let's bring in Mark now. Qatar is an ally, of course, Mark. Trump is the driver of the current ceasefire plan. So what role did the Americans play in this, as Sally was alluding to, and what is their view of it?
They played no role at all, if we are to take the statements that have come out of the White House and indeed from Qatar and Israel at face value. The Americans were unaware that this was going to happen, and that alone is absolutely extraordinary. And I think it speaks to the degree to which Benjamin Netanyahu feels he's got a green light to do whatever he wants. And it's understandable that he would feel that. If you look at President Trump's statements over many months now, he has literally said that Benjamin Netanyahu will do what he needs to do on Gaza, on Hamas. And that implicitly, perhaps even explicitly, is a green light for Netanyahu to do just that. Look, we know that over the course of... They've had a rocky relationship, Netanyahu and Trump, going back a long, long time. But they appear to be aligned. Yes, there was a moment earlier this year, when Netanyahu appeared to breach a ceasefire that Trump had put in place on Iran, and at that stage Trump was very, very unhappy, swearing at the White House at why Israel had done this. But looking at what Caroline Leavitt said, reading out a statement that has now been posted by the president himself on social media, he's not a man who chooses to be diplomatic ever. He speaks his mind, and yet that message was very much sitting on the fence. Yes, disappointed that this happened. However, eliminating Hamas is a worthy goal. And then remarkably at the end saying that the president believes that this unfortunate incident could serve as an opportunity for peace. Well, having spoken to sources close to these negotiations, they do not believe that that is the case. They believe that Israel has fundamentally undermined the peace process.
Well, let's head to Adam then in Jerusalem. The Israelis must see the reaction to this, Adam. This attack broke international norms. It largely failed in terms of Hamas leadership. So what now then for the prospects for peace?
They've certainly seen the global reaction, but recent times tells us that most of that reaction won't trouble the Israeli government at all. They will have looked out for what the United States said, and as Mark has been telling you, with Trump rather sitting on the fence about this, there is an expression that you hear about Benjamin Netanyahu that he just sees everything as a green light unless it's a red light, and he'll see that as slightly muddying of the waters, in which case in his mind he'll think, right, I can carry on, because he has for so long acted with impunity, done what he wanted, and has not received any big pushback. So where does this leave us in terms of peace? Well, it's hard to imagine that it's good news for those who are hoping for a ceasefire. Yes, there are those close to the Israeli government who are still saying that this will help, that because they, in some quarters, believe that simple shows of military strength are what is needed to put Hamas into a corner, and they will think this is yet again a demonstration of Israel's military might. Plenty of others, they will say, that is nonsense, that peace is further away than ever. If Israel attacks Hamas on the grounds of Qatar, that wipes out any tolerance, any trust, and at the same time, Israel is preparing a massive military offensive in Gaza City and to displace up to 1 million people, with those around Netanyahu telling him what he should go for is full annexation. And no, to the ears of many, that won't sound much like peace.
Adam, Mark and Sally, thanks to all of you. Now, the White House has tonight continued to deny that the US President Donald Trump penned a bawdy birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein. Also under pressure is the UK's ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, who also wrote a message describing the billionaire paedophile as his best pal. The notes were part of a birthday album compiled for Mr. Epstein in 2003, which was released by a congressional committee yesterday. Let's get more then from our US correspondent, James Matthews.
It's busy on the street they call Embassy Road. The traffic here is VIP in a Washington neighbourhood that cradles the diplomatic community, embassies and all. In the corner that is forever Britain, they've known better days. Inside the UK embassy, they caught sight of their ambassador as they've never seen him before. So did we. This was Lord Peter Mandelson, as seen in a birthday book given to the sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Mandelson's contribution included pictures in a dressing gown, images of a tropical island, and of this senior government figure on holiday. Written messages called Jeffrey Epstein his best pal. "Happy birthday, Jeffrey," he wrote. "We love you." And he told of stays with Epstein's friends. Yum yum, he added in brackets. Sky News asked Lord Mandelson about his relationship with Epstein earlier this year. Hi, Mr. Mandelson. James Matthews, how are you doing?
Hi, very well.
Nice to meet you. Specifically about a stay at the paedophile's New York apartment after Epstein had been convicted.
I'm not answering any questions about him.
He was in jail at the time for soliciting prostitution from a minor.
And my knowledge of him is something that I regret. I wish I'd never met him in the first place.
Why did you have an association with him? Because he was in jail at the time.
Why did many people meet him? He was a prolific networker, and I wish I'd never met him in the first place.
Was it an error of judgment, sir, or was it more than that? The British ambassador would still appear to have the confidence of his employer, the UK government. Questions in Downing Street have effectively been stonewalled. Questions about security issues, an insult to the victims. Had the government ever asked Lord Mandelson about the nature of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Mandelson isn't the only name that jumps out from the 50th birthday book. For the first time, we've seen the hand drawing of a woman's figure with Donald signed below the waist. Not the Donald, according to the White House.
The president did not write that letter. He did not sign those documents. He maintains that position.
It's incredibly distinctive.
Caroline Levitt said they'd support an expert review of the signature. We asked a handwriting expert of our own. To her mind, it's signed and sealed.
It's absolutely identical, both in pressure and length and formation of just about every single stroke.
It is the birthday book that makes difficult reading for everyone. James Matthews, Sky News in Washington.
Now, you may have noticed St George and Union flags flying in towns up and down the country. It is the work of campaigners known as flaggers. They say they hang them on street furniture and public buildings in the name of patriotism. But others see flags as racially charged symbols, which sow community division. Our social affairs correspondent, Becky Johnson, spent an evening with a group of flaggers in Lichfield.
Patriotism and pride, or nationalism and prejudice. Flags are going up in towns and cities across England.
I want to be proud of my own country.
But is this also to do with immigration?
It goes hand in hand, really.
Right, there's old St George.
Here in Lichfield, we followed this group, led by Ross, for an evening.
Why are you doing this?
I'm incredibly patriotic. I love our flag.
So have you always put flags up, or did it just start with the immigration?
It's acceptable now.
From early on, we heard plenty of support. But it wasn't long before this.
Sorry that you feel so shameful behaviour.
Not everyone happy to see the flags in their town.
Why can't you be proud?
I am proud. I am proud.
It's about being divisive.
We're absolutely tripping over from patriotism to an overt display of nationalism. Rallying round a flag is a central point for in periods when we feel left out, right? And when that happens, what we get is cliques established, and they can be the beginnings of a deeper division.
That's your opinion, unfortunately.
But is this all timed because of all the concern about immigration?
Yes, my personal stance on it is yes. This is us saying you're in our country, right? This is what we stand for. You bow to this flag how we do, right? And you shouldn't be doing illegal things and for example, raping the women and committing crimes, which we don't agree with. Right. Are you good on this yet?
For at least one of this group, it's all pretty new.
You're wearing the flag?
I am wearing the flag. I want us to wear it proudly, like the Americans do.
Octavia has only been doing this for a matter of days.
She bumped into us the other day, and now she's a full-fledged flagger.
He kind of explained to me, like, we're protecting people of Britain, we're spreading awareness. That is literally all, and I was really happy to get involved.
Thank you, sir.
As they carry on, this passerby clear why he supports them.
Fantastic.
No surrender! No surrender! No surrender to the boat coming over.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that performance.
As we move around the town, I'm keen to find out more about Ross, who's 27, Lichfield born and bred, and installs floors for a living.
Would you describe, are you a member of a political party?
No.
Are you part of a political movement?
Well, if you want to call this a political movement, then yes.
So would you say this is entirely grassroots?
Yeah. I mean, if you were going to associate me with any political movement, these flags here represent September 13th, the rally that's going on in London, Unite the Kingdom. And it's
Do you support Tommy Robinson?
Yes. Massively.
OK, so are you affiliated with him?
I was with him last night, yes.
You were with him last night?
He gave me these flags.
Right. So it's not really grassroots?
Well, it's your opinion.
But further down the street, we meet Bob, who's just not convinced by Ross.
There's nothing to be ashamed that, like, we're English or British. It's just that they're, like, how people use the flag to represent themselves and represent the people that, like, they're, like, the group that they're with. And that's what causes the issue.
So it's the timing that some people
Everybody seems to be saying it's
have
the
an
timing.
issue with.
Yeah, with obviously the immigration side of things. I get it, right? It's not a racist thing just to be
wanting to look after your people.
Do you agree with him that it's not a racist thing, or?
No, I mean, I don't. Yeah, it's definitely like it's not a racist thing to present or the British or English flag. It's just how people have used it recently over the times. It's become quite extreme.
This couple completely disagree with him.
Of course we support St George's flag. Yeah, we're British. What, English?
English, exactly.
English,
yes.
yeah, absolutely.
But the flags on our streets are dividing opinion, and more are appearing as tension over immigration continues to grow. Becky Johnson, Sky News, Lichfield.
Well, that debate around flags is fuelled on both sides by opinions on migration. It's becoming a toxic issue for the government and the party as the race to be the new deputy leader of the Labour Party begins. But let's bring in Sky's political correspondent Liz Bates, who's in Downing Street, and is Labour's handling of this issue under scrutiny as the popularity, of course, of reform grows?
Oh, it certainly is, Anna. And the latest poll still showing Reform way ahead on 27%. After that, Labour 22%, the Conservatives 17%. So you can see that there is still a big gap between Reform, and they are certainly capturing that public mood, as you saw laid out so starkly there. Nigel Farage, we've known him in many iterations, many versions of Nigel Farage in Westminster, and in this latest one, that message that he has been hammering home now for decades on immigration is certainly cutting through and showing in the polls. And I think, look, here in Downing Street, they are finally starting to get that message from the public, but also to understand, after being a year in office, how difficult it is, on the one hand, to say you want to do something about migration, to actually putting that into practice. And I think there was an admission of that in the latest reshuffle. We saw the Home Secretary, she has long-standing experience in this area, Yvette Cooper, moved. We now have Shabana Mahmood in post. She has hit the ground running, already announcements of various new policies. There'll be a bit of time for her to show that that works, but I think she's really, really under pressure from the Prime Minister and, of course, from the public to make headway on this issue of migration. I think they know in Number 10 that if they do not succeed in this area of migration, it could completely undermine this government and this Prime Minister.
Liz, thank you. Well, in a sobering reminder of the human cost of the migration issue, a woman has died after a small boat incident in the English Channel. Kent police said the woman was airlifted to shore following a rescue operation in response to small boat activity, where she was later pronounced dead. The police are conducting inquiries to establish the circumstances surrounding the incident. Well, don't forget, tomorrow Sky News will be holding an immigration debate with representatives of the main political parties taking part. So on the panel will be the Shadow Justice Minister, Kieran Mullen, the Migration Minister, Mike Tapp, Reform's Head of Policy, Zia Youssef, and the Liberal Democrats' Home Office spokesperson, Lisa Smart. They'll be questioned by Trevor Phillips and a live audience. That is the immigration debate, live from Birmingham tomorrow at 7 p.m. here on Sky News, with full reaction and analysis straight afterwards. Well, to Nepal now, where the Prime Minister has resigned following the deaths of at least 19 people during protests yesterday. Images from Kathmandu show crowds gathering in the streets and setting things on fire. The clashes broke out over a controversial government decision to block several major social media sites. Our Asia correspondent Cordelia Lynch was at the protests and sent this report.
Chaotic, kinetic, possibly seismic. Fury on the streets of Kathmandu. A generation that yesterday may have felt under siege, today looked on the offensive, empowered, emboldened.
It's the beginning of the revolution.
The government lifted its social media restrictions. The Prime Minister resigned, but it wasn't enough. These young people defied the curfew, their fight for something far deeper and more entrenched.
This is about more than social media platforms and freedom of speech. There is real rage in the air. people have deep concern about corruption in their country. They want to see meaningful change, and they say they won't stop until they get it.
This was about dismantling symbols of the ruling elite. Politicians were chased through the streets, some attacked. It felt like a government in retreat.
This protest is not against the social media ban. This is against the big corruption that these ministers have done for the past 2 decades. We were suppressed. Now we have our voice.
Homes were burned, police stations targeted too. And here, the very heart of government in flames.
This is Parliament House in Kathmandu, the centre of political power where lawmakers pass legislation. But look at it now. It has been burnt. Protesters here. And what's so striking is we haven't seen any police, any security forces.
After years of fermenting frustration over social inequality and corruption, they declared this the beginning of a revolution. Gleefully clutching mementos of the political class they feel has failed them for so long.
Things have shifted quite fast here. Protesters have now stormed into Parliament House. You can see them making their way up the stairs, and they're trying to take away or destroy what little is left here. There's the thud of things crashing around, broken glass all over the floor, and fires too. They want to make clearly the biggest possible statement they can.
They have given us open challenge. They have given the open challenge to Gen Z. They have given the open challenge to the 21st century Gen Z.
Are you worried about more violence? 19 people already have died.
I think to gain something, you have to lose something. So they are patriot for us.
They hope they're on the cusp of victory. Revolution or reckoning, it is a powder keg for Nepal, both perilous and pivotal. Cordelia Lynch, Sky News, Kathmandu, Nepal.
Sir Keir Starmer held a bilateral meeting with the NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte today to discuss the war in Ukraine and how to deal with Vladimir Putin. My colleague Yalda Hakim sat down with Mr. Rutte earlier.
Well, I have dealt with Vladimir Putin many times when I was Prime Minister. I've visited Moscow a number of times. He came to Amsterdam. We had many conversations, discussions. He will only come to the table when he comes to the table. Until that moment, he will maximize his demands, go back into history of Russia, as they always do, and explaining why Ukraine should never have been a separate sovereign state on its own. So all these crazy stories he will keep pumping out. But what we need to do is to stay absolutely focused with the Ukrainians, making sure that as long as the fight continues, they are able to do that. But at the same time, under President Trump's leadership, making sure that we do everything to bring Putin to a place where he will start to sit down, where he will start to negotiate, which is crucial.
A man has been arrested following what emergency services described as a potential hazardous materials incident at Heathrow Airport. The airport's Terminal 4 check-in area was evacuated yesterday afternoon after around 20 people reported injuries. Police say the man remains in custody and that the incident is not being treated as terrorism-related. BBC bosses have appeared in front of MPs at the Culture, Media and Sports Select Committee. The Director-General, Tim Davey, defended the corporation over the case of MasterChef presenter Greg Wallace. He told MPs that we may see more things coming out after being asked for assurance there will not be another scandal of BBC talent abusing their position. Prince Harry has made a personal donation of more than £1 million to a Children in Need project in Nottingham, supporting young people who've been affected by violence. The Duke of Sussex is on a 4-day trip to the UK, carrying out a series of visits to charities. His solo tour was a reminder of the rift with the royal family and his brother William, who attended a public engagement of his own. Our royal correspondent Rhiannon Mills has more.
An industrial estate in Nottingham couldn't have felt further from the glamour of California. But Harry was clearly back to see friends. And despite a few years of negative headlines, the crowd also pleased to have him back.
And I really hope that the family reach out to him in this visit and mend those rifts.
Ever since he left for America, he's stayed in touch privately with the community recording studio and other groups working to keep young people away from violent crime. They've also been particularly loyal to Harry, so it felt like he was, in a way, paying them back.
Good?
Announcing a huge £1.1 million donation from his own pocket.
Violence impacting young people, particularly knife crime, continues to devastate lives, cut futures short and leave families in grief. I've been committed to this work for over a decade, and sadly the urgency today is even greater than when I first began. We cannot, we must not, and we will not look away.
After everything that's happened, and despite now living in the US, this felt like a renewed commitment from him to the UK. Trevor Rose says his support still means everything.
He still asks clearly, what are we doing, what do we need, what is this, what kind of support are we getting, and what are the issues? The one thing has been very clear, the connection amongst the young people, amongst the group, the staff that we work with, has been like, yo, it's Harry, it's Harry. You know what I mean? He's coming to check in on us. It's like a big brother feeling.
As he got stuck in, you couldn't help but wonder if this is the half-in, half-out raw life that Harry has always wanted. Other family members, of course, don't have that choice. Prince William was actually down in London doing a very similar type of visit, with an event in Lambeth focused on what his homelessness initiative is trying to do more specifically for young people.
Today has got a real sense of deja vu about it. It is so similar to all the engagements that I've done with Prince Harry right here over the years. And that is, in a way, hard to square with everything that's happened over the last 5 years. The fact that he's able to now go and do this again. And we now just wait to see what exactly is going to happen over the next 2 days.
And Harry's style and what's happening with his family means we always have to be ready for the unexpected. Rhiannon Mills, Sky News.
Now, England have won a convincing World Cup qualifier victory over Serbia. Let's take a look, shall we? This goal in the 33rd minute was set up by a corner from Declan Rice, with captain Harry Kane slotting it home. The bruising final score then was 5-0. Well, that was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's newspapers in the press preview tonight, joined by the broadcaster and commentator Ali Miraj and the journalist Jenny Kleeman. Welcome and great to see both of you. So among the stories, we'll be discussing this on the front page of the Metro, the headline for the paper, Qatar fury at that Israeli strike. Back in a moment.